Welcome, everyone, to the case study, first ever case study for the optimization invitation and the formula model. I'm here with Sheree, and she has graciously volunteered to be the case study. The person, I just don't want to say guinea pig. That sounds so not fun. So, the case study awesomeness person who's volunteering to do this. Okay, so we're going to let me just to reground everybody. I'm going to share the model first. So we just and I'm going to share the how it looks from when I finish teaching this in the refinery. So it's going to have all the writing on it just to, connect people into where we were. So and as with Chris's case study with the illumination, it's not necessarily that we're only going to stick with this, but we're going to keep the focus of helping Sheree on this model where it's the action tools and know-how, those interplaying, and then bringing those together to get on the flow squared line where you have uppercase flow and lowercase flow. So that's the context. If we need to bring that up again, we will, but that's the case study we're playing with. So everyone knows, I do not know what sure in this case I had an in the first case I had an inkling of, Chris had shared some of her what she was wanted to talk about, and that is what spurred me asking Chris to be the case study pilot. But in this case, I don't know what Sheree is going to tell us. So let's hear what Sheree is wrestling with and what we're going to dive into with this case study.
Yeah. So one thing I was thinking about, and this has come up in my plans, but the process of creating a picture book dummy has
Mm,
been kind of a continual point of frustration, and I see in that a lot of excessive exertion.
mm,
I know how to get it done. I have done many of them, probably, I don't know, 10 or so.
hmm.
Um, I understand the process, I can break it down, but I still don't feel like I think it could be more enjoyable. I think, and there could be more flow there.
Okay, so let's ground everyone because Sheree is talking about kind of the an earlier visual of that model that what is going on when you're not on the flow squared line. So let me share again and we can bring that up. Share this coming up. There we go.
Mhm.
So what Sheree is talking about is that when we have the building blocks of the flow, and the flow squared line is action, tools, and know-how. And what we talked about in the class is that when you have if you have two, but not the other one, you have these experiences that kind of keep you in the loop and not in this sense, like it's kind of dragging on your productivity. And so if you have action and tools, but you're not applying know-how, that's where you start to get excessive exertion. And then when you have tools and know-how minus the action, you get guilty stagnation because you know what you should be doing. And know-how plus actions minus tools, you get informed frustration because you're like, if I just, oh, I know what to do, but I don't know how to execute it. So, Shuri, to reflect back from you, you do now have the tools. You know how to break down the work of a dummy. And
Mhm.
that's what you've been experimenting with for again and again. Well, what if I break it down this way? What if I break it down that way?
Yeah.
And you are clearly action oriented, right? There's no,
Yeah.
that's almost part of your DNA that you're action oriented. So let's think for us.
Also,
Go ahead.
even with that, I feel like in the dummy projects, there is still some guilty stagnation and some informed frustration. So I feel like I'm almost going through, I mean, I mostly exist in excessive exertion, but I have all of them
Well,
in
and
this project.
and this is where you get in this loop
Yes.
where you're doing, you kind of you kind of you kind of keep leaning into two but not the other one, and so slowing
Hmm.
down to say, okay, how does this come together? So that's interesting. This is a great case study thing. So we're going to see what we can do with this. and and you're saying the excessive exertion is is kind of like where you kind of get stuck more often than not.
I think so. Yeah.
So what changes do you think when you're experiencing not excessive exertion, but still not on the flow squared line? Like what changes that makes that, well, I don't feel like I'm exerting too much, but now I'm either in guilty stagnation or informed frustration. If you just,
I I think guilty stagnation is then I have my board filled up with lots of other tickets and there's lots of other things to pull from, so I can kind of subtly avoid
mm,
that particular
okay,
project while still getting a lot done and still kind of feeling good about, okay, the work is still moving, look at all I'm accomplishing, but then that feeling of, yeah, but I really wanted to move that project forward.
right,
And
okay, and
then informed frustration. Um, I'm not quite sure about that one, but I think just the feeling of I know what I need to do. I have the work broken down, but I still don't want to do it and I still feel stuck because the kind of that blank page is getting to me
mm,
of it feels like such a hard task even though I've broken it down it still feels too much or I don't know how to do it or I don't really maybe I don't really know how to draw or maybe I don't really have the skills I don't I think
mm. And okay, so let's I want to come out. Well, if we need to share this again, but I want to say almost on some levels, it's almost like that you're kind of on this line a little bit between two and three because like you know how to put the romp board, but there's other reasons why you're not putting that ticket on the romp board. So in essence, you're not using the tool of your romp board. Do you see what I'm
hmm
saying?
yeah
So and so these two, because you're not using that tool, then you're not moving into action because if you had the ticket in theory, that would move you into action on that. But we also
right
know that that has not worked because then you get there's something going on. My sense in this model, and again, we don't have to stay
hmm
only in this model, but there's something with the know-how that starts to get into, Goodjelly's approach with mindset management. So I want to come back to the what you said of maybe you can't draw, or maybe what were some of the other phrases you use, just to kind of let's really bring that to the surface, this sense I can't draw, the blank page is hard, what else you're feeling. We know you can draw, just for the record, we know you
yeah
can draw, but you
well
have the feeling.
it's the feeling that I can only do a certain kind of drawing and I don't have the particular skills needed for this kind of drawing.
So we're talking not about dummy books in general, but about one specific dummy book.
No, yeah, in general.
Okay. So so help me understand because I'm not a picture book artist. Then what do you is how does a drawing change if it's a dummy?
Well, if you give me like a photograph to copy, I know how to do that.
Hmm.
But creating characters that move in space and that I don't necessarily have a photograph to look at is an added challenge for me. And that is a skill that I have been developing, but it's not as strong as my skill of look at a photo and copy that.
I see. Okay. So in this case, just make sure I'm tracking with you. Like in a picture book, you have a character that needs different expressions, and one time it's running and one time
Yes.
it's looking sad, and so it's okay. um
And it's been something I've been working on, and I've been finding ways to find photographs or but it just isn't as strong of a skill for me as I know it is for other artists. And maybe I'm too focused on that, but I do think there's a little bit of skill level there. But then I see other picture books and they have such playful, whimsical, childlike drawings. So it's not like it has to be done a certain way, but I
mm,
am stuck in that with that skill a little bit.
yeah, so that's hmm, let's just make space for that. So this is in you. You want the direction. You want to know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you don't know that yet. And I think there's a lot of confusion in productivity, that people would say this is resistance, just do it. And to me, there's a difference between procrastination and being in a learning stage and figuring out your, if you're a writer, your voice or your creative style, or just basic learning of craft.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can reflect back for my little journey with the website. I was trying to do artistry way beyond my skill, and I was just getting crushed. And then someone who was a designer came, one of my neighbors came down, saw how I do the little word dollops and said, "Do that." And I was like, "Oh, I can do that." And you see the little pictures I draw. Those are as and and so there is this sense of meeting yourself where you are. And what if you experimented with making a picture book where you are right now with that skill level?
Mm-hmm.
What would you have to do from a journaling perspective, a self management perspective, a know how perspective to create that space for you? Like, what other actions would you have to take around that?
To get to a place where I could do it in that style, for lack of a better word. I mean, I think I have been doing that, but it's the lingering sense of it's not good enough.
Mm,
And I think that's where the excessive exertion comes in because it's like, okay, well, I need to get these tickets done. I need to get this done. I want to see the progress. So I'll buckle down and do it, but it's
my
not like quite
my favorite.
looking like what I want
Buckle
it to look
down.
like.
Um, hmm. It's not looking like a part of you wants it to look.
Yes. Yes.
So what part of
Mm.
okay, do you see that?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to speak from my experience because I have a higher level vulnerability about drawing than you do. So if we can key into mine, and I say that because you also have more drawing and design skills than I have. So then I put the website up, and then I got feedback from you. Um, and you said, "This is great, Christine." And I was like, "Oh, because like you're legit and I'm not." You know what I mean? So I have those, I run Goodjelly
Mhm.
and I still have those feelings. But I just read something in Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart. And I don't know which section it was in perfectionism or resentment. I'm not sure what, but there's a line in there that that I think it's very true to artists and writers and any kind of creative adventure. Like, can you hold the paradox? This is actually amazing, and it's not perfect yet.
Mm.
Like I look at your drawings and I'm thinking, oh, if only I could do that. You know what I mean? So this sense of um, reveling in the skills you have, it's a paradox. It's you can be where you are and want to get better. And there's some study that's done. It's all often listed in like self-help things that, so I don't know if it's like real or someone's like, I'm just going to make up this metaphor and it's really good. But some photography college class where they said the professor divided the class into half the students, he gave the assignment, just take a picture every day. And the other class, the other part of the class, he said, make the best picture you can. And the best pictures came out of people who just kept doing things. And
Yeah.
with Goodjelly, it's not a requirement you do something every day, but I do think it's true of consistent.
Hmm.
Consisting doesn't always mean every day, depending on, like someone's health condition or their other life priorities. But what if you gave yourself permission to make a bad dummy?
Hmm.
In the to appease that part of you that has some perspective and just say, when that part comes in and said, well, this isn't going to be good enough. And then you can say to that part, like with a little cheekiness, but it's actually going to be really good because my requirement is that it's bad. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do you see how just your little laugh in that?
Hmm.
It's like these parts of us are there for a reason. These parts who want to make, we don't want to lose the part of ourselves that in the end is the perfectionist. We just want to help it be okay. And so we have to work with it, like, so give it a task, like be a perfectionist in doing a really bad picture book dummy,
Hmm.
and then say, now can I make a worse picture book dummy? And then the worst one, like what is the worst one we can make? And and honoring those parts of you that are actually trying to protect you, like a perfectionist is trying to protect us. It
Hmm.
doesn't want us to get dinged. It doesn't want us to be ridiculed. Go ahead, think, digest, and where are you and what are you thinking on this?
I think it's interesting. I think that all sounds good. And um, I think it's interesting that going back to that thing that it's not looking like a part of you wants it to look like. I've noticed a couple of times throughout the last year that when I have frustrations about, oh, I think I had this with my WinQ future log of
Yeah.
like, oh, it doesn't look, but then I realize, or the week didn't go, the romp didn't go the way I wanted it to go, or part of me didn't want it to, then when I stop and think, it's like, wait, what do I actually mean? And what did I think I wanted it to look like? And
Hmm.
when I actually think about that, it's this fuzzy, unrealistic picture that I don't really know what it is, but it's just kind of this unrealistic thing like, oh, I can get, 50 books written in a year, or, just some
Yeah.
kind of like completely. So now I'm wondering, what do I, what is that picture that I'm creating with the dummy? Because I don't even really know what it is. And that's the trap of it, right? Because it's fuzzy.
100%. 100%. Jessica um, eh, had a similar conversation with Jessica about writing enough, how much writing was enough.
Hmm.
Like, and what was enough? Is it 200 words a day, 500 words a day. And unless you can answer that, then to go back to a more detailed process tool, you don't have a clear definition of done. So, from a very practical perspective, you figuring out what the definition of done is. Because and that's why I was playfully saying, if you say my definition of done is a bad picture book, then that's clear. I mean, you may even want to think about like what that means, but yeah, that is the resolution. When people have crisp definitions of done, it it opens up so much more flow. There's mindset management because parts will come in, your inner maxer, and say that's not enough, you're not whatever. But it creates the precision so you're not in that slog mode. You have the distinction, you can celebrate it. But what you're describing with this vague out there thing, you're never you're never going to meet that because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, that is absolutely crazy making and it's flow dragging
Mm-hmm.
because you can have all those tools, but this gets into the know-how of managing yourself and saying, okay, I have to, like I would say, put a ticket on your board and say, I have to define what is this good, perfect, elusive dummy book that is stopping me before I even go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so this falls into know-how. What is the definition of know-how?
Know-how for me means like I can have a tool like Scrivener, but if I've not taken the time to learn Scrivener, every time I open up Scrivener, I'm just going to be frustrated with it. So you have a tool of romping
Mm-hmm.
and you have a tool and you are the artist. So when we talk about Goodjelly and know-how, I to know the tools, it doesn't have to be you have to become a Scrivener expert, but like in this case, but to know enough of how to use it to get whatever you want to achieve in Scrivener done. But the thing that everyone misses is you have to know you. You have to know you. So when I talk to artist processes, I was just listening to I love Amy Poehler's podcast, and I don't know which maybe it's Kristen Wiig. There were two in a row with what is her name? Kate McKinnon and then Kristen Wiig. And Kate McKinnon, I it just their energies are different. And I think Kristen Wiig said, I always have to have music playing when I create. Music is going on. For me, that would stop me in my tracks. It would create, like uh I would just be like, I can't write. Like it would just immediately be. And so we don't often stand in these things. And we may figure out those little things like I have to have quiet, but then we like go to an artist conference or a writer conference and we hear something like you're supposed to do 50 picture books a year if you're a picture book writer. I talked to an award-winning picture book artist who was feeling guilty because she would write one picture book a year. Her process was artist date, go with the flow, do it. And, she that worked for her. And the book would she has an existing agent, and some of those picture books would win awards. Yet here she was feeling guilty because and I'm like, your know how is taking the time to learn you, then having enough grounded power to stand for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so this conversation of you saying, hey, I don't even know what that means for me, that from me as a project from a project, like, okay, if I'm your project manager, even though it's not just buckle down and do the dummy book, Sheree, I would be like, ooh, that's the next task on your board.
Hmm.
And not even I have to get this, like, just do some journaling and get some more. So that's one track to build your awareness, to build your know-how of you. And on the other track, be trying more playful process things like, well, what if I just see what happens if I do this experiment of doing a bad dummy book? Because then you have both, like, the parts of you who want you to be in more, let's call it a, what our brains feel is applicable writing or artist action, like moving the thing forward. But in parallel, you're also building your know-how. And then those things will start coming together to get you on that flow squared line. And that part of being unstoppable is that, like, just like you're going to evolve, and I see your boards, you are building your craft. You constantly have round creative work on your boards. You're not just saying dummy book, dummy book. You're like, take this class. You are doing the craft work to grow your skills. So awesome.
Hmm.
Then we want to make some adjustments so you have more freedom to meet yourself where you are, to do the practical work of that dummy book without. But then that other line in there that it's all weaving together is you figuring out you more.
Hmm.
And for all of us, that is a lifelong thing. We're going to keep growing. Your art is going to keep growing. Your know-how of you is going to keep growing, as is your ability to just delight in all these parts of you. There's my there's my Miss Perfectionist who had some really vague notion of what I should be, standing up to. And so we're just going to figure that out. And that's part of the work. So tell me more what you're thinking now in all this of what we're saying.
Um, so now I'm wondering about, I feel like that addresses a big part of the initial fear of the blank page kind of feelings.
Hmm.
And